Welcome. In this module, you're going to need a yoga mat or a rug to lie on, and a bolster or a cushion to sit on to begin with. We'll start off by me sharing some information about what to expect from this program and from this lesson, and then we'll lay down and do an awareness lesson. So in today's lesson, we're going to focus on how to feel. Most people don't even know how to feel. When you ask them how they're doing, they'll answer with good or fine, which is very non-descriptive. The reason why people answer this way is, for one thing, we're so accustomed to ignoring our bodies and putting our attention outward on all the things that we have to take care of during the day. And the second reason is most of us really don't know how to tune inward and how to actually feel the subtle nuances of our physical body. When was the last time you tuned into the feeling in your body of joy, your success, your accomplishment? Even in sexuality, there's a world of sensation ready to be felt that most people have limited access to. We, as a species, have dulled our senses. The better you are at feeling yourself, the more connected you will be to life, the more clarity you will have, and the faster you will heal. The more sensitive your internal navigation system becomes, the easier it will be to come into alignment and to choose the kind of life you wish to live. To retrain our bodies to feel, it's as simple as starting with noticing even the most small and subtle sensations. It might be the sensation of a single hair on your arm or a cool breeze on your face. For even when the most subtle of sensations is felt, it then has the possibility to grow. With focused attention, it then has the possibility of spreading through the vast interlinking of neural fibers that stem throughout our bodies. Like branches of a tree, any sensory impulse has the possibility of spreading a chemical signal to the neighboring neurons. This process is known as a synapse. Neurons have the ability to synapse with an infinite number of nerve fibers throughout your body as long as the sensory information persists, spreading sensory information to more and more parts of yourself. This means that even a tickle of the toe can be felt in your upper body. When we disconnect from our physical bodies or from feeling in general, the sensory communication network shuts down and the electrical signal from nerves fail to spread. Just by putting our attention onto a part of ourselves, we then heighten our sensory and proprioceptive awareness of that part. You will be learning a basic awareness lesson in today's module. The good news is that all you have to do is notice and feel. Many of us, especially as intuitive people, disconnected from our physical bodies at a very young age. Whatever the circumstances were, life felt scary or unsafe, and the body's automatic reaction was simply to disconnect, or so to speak, to leave the premises. This occurred without our conscious awareness or control. I bring this up just so you don't beat yourself up or punish yourself in any way, shape, or form for the relationship you have with your body. Rather, I encourage you to have compassion and understanding, knowing that you had good reason for disconnecting with all are parts of your body in the past. Yet ask yourself if perhaps now you feel ready to reconnect with these lost or discarded parts of yourself. My goal for this entire program is to help you to have a more loving relationship with your body and to restore a healthy, symbiotic relationship with it. In this video, we're going to refrain from focusing on the why we may have disconnected from our bodies. Rather, we're going to focus on retraining ourselves to feel and to reconnect with our physical bodies. In Module 2, we're going to learn how to be our body's own best healer and some of the messages and meanings that lie beneath our pain and discomfort. In Module 3, we're going to focus on decision-making. We'll learn how to use the body to help us better decipher our yes and no messages, our likes and dislikes, and to get more in touch with our internal compass. In Module 4, we'll focus on the specific parts of our bodies we dislike the most, and we'll find the karmic reasons for why we created those parts of ourselves in this particular way. If you find it difficult to get completely relaxed during the following movement and visual imagery lessons, it might be due to the interferences of thoughts. There's nothing wrong with thinking during the day, but thinking can involve much muscular contraction around the pupils, facial, and neck muscles. Even the way you breathe can change with deep thoughts or focus. When we learn to relax these thoughts, one's body can truly relax. To be with what is, free of judgment, shame, or resistance, is a meditative practice. For the moment a story or judgment about the sensation enters, the sensation is drowned out. All sensation is neutral. There are no bad sensations. That is, until we place judgment and meaning upon it. The realm of the body is value neutral. It has no story and no identification. No good or bad, right or wrong, no judgment or direction. All of these are the actions of the mind. Though it's easy to judge pain or pleasure as good or bad, if we learn to parse apart the single nuances of how each strand of sensation feels, free of judgment, we can view it from a very different light. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our movement lesson. Go ahead and lay down on your mat. And if you're having low back pain or tightness, then you can either bend your knees like each of these ladies is, or you could put a bolster under your knees, whichever you prefer. Would either of you ladies like bolster? Okay, sure. Sure, okay. So let's do that. Okay. And if you're at home, you could use a pillow rather than a bolster. There you go. So we want to get yourself comfortable for this lesson. Bring this under your knees so that your low back could relax, and you want a little bit of space in between your legs. Just notice how you chose to lay down. Are your legs kind of pulling in towards one another? Is there some tightness between your legs? And notice how your breath is right now. Notice where you're inhibiting your breath, and notice where your breath feels very free. And allow your eyes to soften and close. We're going to get very relaxed in this lesson. Does it go to any areas of tightness or pain? Or does it go to some areas of contraction? Notice if there's breath in your upper chest, and I'm sure as soon as I asked that question, the breath automatically just went there. And while you're focusing on your chest, focus on the back side of your chest, the area that is more in contact with the ground. And notice if there's any movement happening there. How about your mid-back region? And how about your low back area? Do you notice any breath? Do you notice any movement of your ribs? And let's bring our attention and our awareness to our eyes. Are your eyes working as your eyes are shut? Now that's an interesting question. How do you know if they're working? Well, to an observer could watch your eyes and see tiny little movements happening. That's called saccades. And that's an indication that there's muscular effort happening around your eye. Just notice for yourself, do you feel any tension or tightness in the muscles around your eye? How about your jaw region? How about your teeth inside your mouth? Do you feel any kind of gripping or holding on? How relaxed is your face? And notice which direction your nose is pointed. And notice which way your eyes are veering. We're going to spend a bit of time getting to know how our bodies are right now, because by the time you're done with this program, your body is going to change significantly. So just notice right now, without trying to change anything, what it's like today. And how about the area at the base of your head? Do you feel any tension there? Or how about the front of your head? The front of our head, our thinking muscles, we often hold a lot of tension there, especially if you just got off work or you just got done with a busy drive. And let's focus on the area of our neck. You could, if you want, put your hand under your neck and feel how high off the ground your vertebrae are of your neck. And you can even feel around to the side of your neck and feel, are the muscles on the side of your neck working just a little bit more than they need to? How about your shoulders? How lifted are they from the ground versus relaxed into the ground? And how much of your body are you surrendering into the ground, as if the earth were coming up from beneath you to support your back and your body? What parts of your back and your body feel supported? And what parts feel less supported? And focus on the shape of your shoulder blade. You might notice that the amount of pressure on the right side versus the left side is a little different. So your shoulder blades are like a triangle. And what part of the triangle is most pushed into the ground? And where does your awareness of the shape of this triangle end? And very gently, very slowly, move your nose, roll your head a little bit to the right, and just stay in the range of ease and comfort. And then come back to the center and roll the other way. And as you're doing this, see if you feel any movement of your spine happening between your two shoulder blades. Go very slow, rolling once to one side, and then back to the middle, and once to the other side. How much movement is happening in your spine and in the area between your shoulder blades? Come back to the center and take a rest. Now we're going to pay attention to your right foot and your right leg. So notice if there's any tension in the toes of the right side. How did you choose to place your right foot onto the ground? It's amazing. Our stress and our tension is always held in our toes and in our eyes, by the way. So actually, if you release, one thing I found from working with clients is that if you release the tension in your toes, the tension in the rest of the body decreases, and the same is true for the eyes, by the way. So ask your right foot, do you have a message for me? And let your internal guidance just simply show you an answer or not. Do you have a message for me? And now let's focus on your right leg, just above your foot, all the way up to your hip joint. Very gently, just once, take your toes on your right side, roll them on your heel to the right, and then roll your toes a little to the left. Just go left and right, just a couple times to each side, nice and slow, and it's kind of like you're saying, hello, hip joint. Feel how your top of your femur bone, your top of your leg bone, connects into the hip socket. See if you could feel a differentiation of your leg from your pelvis. A lot of us, when we move and walk through the world, we move them as if they were glued together. But the truth is it's a very distinct, different joint, the hip joint and the pelvis. It's a ball and socket joint. So with that awareness now of the ball and the socket, one more time, do the rolling on your heel of your foot to the right and then back to the center. And also as you're doing this, you might become aware of the excess tension that's going on in your right hip joint. And maybe you could even see about letting some of that tension go. Okay, now take a rest with your right leg and see if your right leg is now resting a little differently than your left leg. And ask your right leg, do you have a message for me? And now let's focus on your left foot. What's the difference between your left foot and your right foot? And ask your left foot, do you have a message for me? And gently roll on your heel, your left foot to the right and to the left, just as you did the other side. Windshield wiper your foot back and forth, but see if you could do this. That was a lot of tension. See if you could do it without any tension in your hip joint. More so that you can become aware of where you're holding on more than you need to. And with an awareness of differentiating the hip from the pelvis. Do that a couple more times. When we hold and lock in our pelvis, that's our protective mechanism at work. Our vagus nerve, on fire. Take a rest. Our vagus nerve is our fight and flight nerve that activates all of the reactive muscles as well as our organs. Okay, take a rest of that left leg. And now ask your left leg, do you have a message for me? Now put one of your hands on your belly and just feel the rise and fall of your lower belly with each breath. Now in our belly is often an area we hold a lot of our emotions, a lot of the energy that we're holding on from our interactions with other people, our disgust with ourselves, a lot of our negative self-talk, we hold that in our belly. So just for now, allow your belly to be free and ask yourself to your belly, do you have a message for me? Is there a wisdom or something I should know, something you want to tell me? And then put that same hand onto your chest, your sternum area. And just take a moment to feel the rhythm of the movement here. Now, in our chest is often where we protect ourselves, guard ourselves from harm, where we put more pressure, the perfectionist, the idealist, all of that gets stored here. Our anxiety and worry. So ask this part of yourself, do you have a message for me? And go ahead and relax that left arm down by your side. And now focus on your low back. As you breathe, do you feel your low back coming closer and further away from the ground beneath it? And ask your low back, do you have a message for me? And focus on your middle back. Now, the middle back is often an area that we hold more like a straight board. Especially on both sides of our spine, oftentimes there's not a lot of movement happening there. So ask your middle back, do you have a message for me? And then focus on the area of your upper back. And as you focus here, you might notice the movement of your shoulder blades. Are they moving towards and away from your spine? Ask the area of your upper back, do you have a message for me? And then focus on your head, especially the front of your head. And ask this part of yourself, do you have a message for me? Has it been working on overdrive? Then bend your right arm at the elbow so that your hand is pointed up towards the ceiling. And just notice the position that you chose to hold your fingers in as your hand is nice and relaxed. And for most people, they hold their fingers very straight. And this is because we're used to overworking our fingers 24/7 at the keyboard, etc. But the truth is that we have 3 gentle curves, 3 joints of our fingers that in order to maintain neutral or more relaxed posture, we want our fingers to curl. So allow your fingers to get super lazy. So you want to minimize the amount of work that's going on in your fingers. Simply let it go. Let all the work go. Just rest your arms softly. And I'd like you to circle your wrist, nice and lazy. Circle your wrist. Keep your rest of your arm stationary. Just circle your wrist. And as you're circling your wrist, see how lazily you can allow your fingers to be. See if you can start to release the habit of tensing your fingers. And as you're circling, do you notice a circle being made on the floor from your shoulder blade area? See if you could feel the circle being traced on the ground, just around your shoulder blade region or slightly above. And circle it the other way, the wrist. And then take a rest, let your arm go long. So in this lesson, and in any of the future lessons, you're welcome to take a rest even before I say to take a rest. So I encourage you to listen to your body for what your body needs rather than what I tell you. As you become more in tune with your body and more intuitive, you'll simply know, my body is telling me not to eat that. So notice right now if there's a difference in how your right shoulder and shoulder blade is as compared to the left side. Bend your right elbow again, the same position, where your fingers are lazy. And now, very gently, take the back of your arm, the back of your forearm, away from your body, and then back in the direction towards your torso. Great. So taking the back of your arm away from your body and back towards. Just go a small range, just a little bit. And as you're doing this, see what's happening in your shoulder blade. What's the relationship between your shoulder blade and your spine as you do this movement? It's like saying hello to your shoulder blade and getting to know you very well in this lesson. Good, and then come back to the center with your arm, and now turn your palm towards your face, and then turn it away. Go nice and slow, so you can really feel what's happening in your shoulder blade. We're also learning about what neutral postures are in your arm so that you can use your arms more efficiently, whether you're cooking or working on the keyboard. Whatever we're doing, we want to listen to our bodies more deeply so that we can know how to use them more wisely, avoiding overuse. Go ahead and let that arm go long. And now just notice how it's lying. Does it feel longer than the other arm? What's the difference in the right upper back versus the left upper back? And ask your right arm, does it have a message for you? Does it have a wisdom it wants to share with you? And you could be specific about asking your hand, your fingers, your arm, or your shoulder. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but before we do that, just notice which way your nose is pointed. And very gently roll your head once to the right and once to the left, and see which side does it roll easier to, your right or your left. And you can also notice what's the relationship of your upper spine with your shoulder blade. Go ahead and roll it one more time, focusing on the movement of your spine and your shoulder blade. Is there a difference on one side from the other? Okay, let that go, take a rest in the middle. And now, left arm, go ahead and bend the elbow so the palm is up towards the ceiling. And just see the position that you chose for your fingers. And see if you can come to a little bit more of a neutral and relaxed position of your fingers, allowing your fingers to get a little lazier. So we want to become aware of when we're working our muscles and we don't need to. These unconscious patterns and habits that we have. And now circle the left wrist. Make a nice, small, easy circle. And as you're doing that, what's going on in your shoulder blade? And make sure you include the back part of the circle, because there's a whole lot of movement that happens in your shoulder blade as you go to the back part. And you can circle the other way. And then pause, let your arm go long, take a rest. The body's very, very wise, and it learns very fast when you just slow it down and listen. And by the way, it's normal for your body temperature to drop about now, and this is because your body is letting go. Your parasympathetic nervous system is taking over. You're resting and digesting, which is truly what we want to happen when we want to rest. Okay, go ahead and bend the left elbow. And this time bring your forearm away from your body and back towards your body. Nice and slow. See what's going on in the left side of your back. And see if you feel anything happening in your neck area. Good. Take your palm towards your face and then away from your face. Go nice and slow. Notice how you're working your fingers when they're that straight, and see if you can take away the work in your fingers. Sometimes we have to really slow it down to feel and realize what we're doing. And what we're doing that's actually working against our best health. Optimal health and optimal comfort is what we're going for. Okay. Let that go, take a rest. And notice how the imprint that the shoulder blade is making is much more refined, much deeper into the floor. And by the way, the reason we do this on a rug or a yoga mat as opposed to the bed, is to give you better proprioceptive input. Proprioception means that it's the awareness of where your body is in space. And so your brain is getting information and it's communicating that into our bodies. As I mentioned earlier, many of us go through life out of our body without proprioceptive awareness or conscious awareness of where we are in space. The floor provides plenty of sensory information to the brain. Okay, so now take the left arm and this time go all the way up towards the ceiling. Just float it up like it's levitating, like a balloon floating up to the ceiling. And then elongate your arm a little bit more as if I was holding your wrist and gently pulling your arm up towards the ceiling, and then let it go back to the start. Do that about 4 times. You could just start with your arm up here and simply elongate the arm away from the shoulder blade. Do that part 4 or 5 times. And notice if you have any tension around your shoulder, and if so, soften that. Notice if you have any tension in your jaw, and if so, let that go. Okay, it's easy to tense your jaw. Okay, let that arm go, and just let it rest on the floor. Let it rest long. And in a moment, I'm going to have you do the other side. But before you do the other side, I want you to think about that movement. And I want you to think about how you could do that with less effort, especially around the shoulder complex. How could you have more of your back, more of your ribs working with you to help out with that movement? And it's almost like your shoulder blade wants to slide to lift your arm up towards the ceiling. So when you're ready, go ahead and lift that right arm up towards the ceiling and elongate that arm up towards the ceiling a little bit more, and then exhale, bring it back to the start. Do that 3 or 4 times. Make it lazier, easier. We're working with making your bodies wiser. Breathe and let that go. Take a rest. Lots of times when we're learning a new motor act, our tendency is to halt or pull in our breath. And as you're lying here now, notice the imprint, especially of your upper back on the floor. And let's ask your left arm, do you have a message for me? And you can direct the question to your shoulder. Let all your muscles go. And just take a few moments to feel now how you're lying, how the floor is coming up to support your weight. And ask your body as a whole, body, do you have a message for me? And listen deeply to the internal wisdoms that it has to share. And when you feel ready, go ahead and push the bolster or the pillow out of the way and lie with your knees bent, your knees about hips width apart. Take another moment or two to do a body scan. One time, roll your head to the right, and now notice how freely and easily your spine moves between your shoulder blades. And roll it one time to the left. Feel how your spine is now moving between your 2 shoulder blades. And how much of your spine is involved. Can you feel it in your mid back, your low back? Stop in the middle. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and roll onto your right side. And take a pause on your right side and position yourself so that your right upper arm and your left hand are there to push yourself up, but your head is going to come up last. So when you're ready, go ahead and come up, head coming up last. So you want to make sure to avoid leading with your head. Take a moment because you might find yourself a little bit lightheaded in sitting. And this is basically the neurons upgrading and changing according to the new you. And when you're ready, come up to standing and go for a little walk around the room, noticing what feels different, noticing how your walk is softer and lighter. And that completes today's lesson.